Ready to go. Welcome all of you that are watching live. Welcome to Health and Healing. I'm your presenter, Lou Fowler, for this evening. This is another edition of Health and Healing, and tonight we're going to be covering or navigating through winter. It is the winter season here. It is late January in mid-Missouri, and so what we're going to be covering for this topic is some things to help us to navigate through winter. Glad you could join us once again. This is part 7 of a series that you can find us on our Sunnydale Church website or our YouTube channel. For those that are here present, we're glad you could join us. If you have questions, don't field them this way. I will not answer your questions regarding your health personally. If this is your first time joining us, we're delighted that you can join us here to get some more information to help your health. I just want to let everybody know that the information presented does not constitute medical advice. Please consult your doctor for any health concerns. I'm not a doctor, and I do not play one here either. But the information that will be shared will be coming from the Bible, will be coming from books such as Ministry of Healing. They'll be coming from news and also pertinent medical journals. The goal here, the purpose of this series, is to know how to limit surgeries. How many of you want to limit surgeries? Right? For those that didn't raise your hands, this is not for you then. How many of you want to know how to limit the use of medications? Right? There's some needful things out there. We agree there's some needful things out there. How many of you want to limit hospital and unnecessary doctor's visits? I'm that way as well. I want to do all I can to stay as healthful as possible. I'm not against the medical community. I adopt typically what the Amish do. I'll go for emergencies, but I try to equip myself with enough knowledge to know how to help my health so that I can prevent some of these things. And so this is what we're covering. My journey has been about a 22-year journey in natural health. I worked in the natural health field for 10 years, and all the knowledge that I gained there, I'm just going to be sharing with you, and a lot of the principles that I gained there, I will be sharing with you also. I like this acronym, New Start. It pretty much covers what we're going to be doing here. It is an acronym. The N stands for nutrition, as far as how we take care of ourselves. I'll be talking a lot about that this evening. Exercise, water. I'll be talking a lot about sunshine and winter through this presentation this evening. Temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. Now, I'm going to begin with a Bible verse here. For many of us, we understand this Bible verse. I'm going to take a few moments to explain it. This is from the book of Revelation in the Bible. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. John is watching this in vision, and he sees this. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. When you uncover the Bible tells us, this is from Daniel chapter 7, that beasts represent kingdoms or nations. There's a nation that has come up out of the earth. It has 2 horns like a lamb. And when you read Revelation, 27 times the word lamb is used. It's referring to Christ. So you have here a Christian nation that is coming up out of the earth. And it says here it speaks like a dragon. The Bible tells us in Revelation 12 and verse 9 that the dragon is the devil. There's this entity here, this nation here that comes up as a lamb in its foundation, but eventually would begin to speak as a dragon. The dragon is not a good thing. The dragon represents the devil. For those that want to identify who this beast is, many of us know it's the very country that we live in. It is us. It is the United States. We are the second beast of Revelation chapter 13. Now, this tells us here that it's going to come up as a lamb but speak as a dragon. Every time in Revelation the dragon speaks, it's making war. It's making war. Tell me, is this nation a friend? I should say it this way. Is this beast power, as it's portrayed here, working with God here in the end times or working against God in the end times? It's against God. So my question is, as I'm going through here, we know who this beast is. How can you tell me to trust everything that comes from this beast who speaks like the devil, who speaks like the dragon? If anything, I hope to give you some food, some fodder, if you will, to ask some pertinent questions. You can't trust everything that comes from the TV. You can't trust everything that comes there. Hopefully this series here through health will give us enough opportunity to ask the right questions. I always tell people, ask the tough questions. Ask the tough questions. This is the video I'm going to share for the next few minutes. I'm going to let the image flow, and I will narrate what exactly is happening here. In 1979, Saddam Hussein took over as president of Iraq. He called an assembly of leaders in the country. This is kind of like what Nebuchadnezzar did back in Daniel chapter 3. All of his favorites, all of his officials gathered together. Here, this is a portrayal. This is an actual video footage of Saddam Hussein calling people into an auditorium. Now, he's going to get this guy that's speaking next to him to confess all the people that would stand in opposition to Saddam Hussein and his new regime. So right here in this sequence here, I was still very, very young here. This is my parents' home country. This guy narked on all the people that stood in opposition to Saddam Hussein. And so Saddam Hussein is eventually, this guy is actually going to give all the names that are standing in opposition. There's about 60 names that were called. 22 of these people were sent out and they were executed immediately. Now, why would a world leader call everybody in to eventually execute them? What is the purpose of that? Control. Or silence his opposition. You see, if he kills 22, the others will stay silent. Oh, they will go and they will, guess what? They will get on board with Saddam Hussein. They will get on board with him. So you execute the ones that you need to execute to make an example out of them. Not only that, they will be in opposition to the kingdom. They'll be in opposition to what Saddam Hussein's trying to do. This is actual footage. This is exactly what happened. You can get this on YouTube. That is Saddam Hussein right there. Now, for those that do not know, this is something my father told me. Between 1960 and 1962, Saddam Hussein was being trained by a 3-letter U.S. government agency in Egypt. There are puppets of the world economy that are in power. So how is it in health? Why would Saddam eliminate those people? Obviously, they stand in opposition. Notice this headline. There's a reason why I brought that up. Holistic doctor, entire family murdered. Death count up to 77 in 2 years. 77 naturopathic doctors died in 2 years. Do you think it's coincidence? For those that are here, for those that may be watching, you're thinking a little bit differently. I'm going to read what it says here. The 77 holistic doctors murdered since 2015 through 2017 did not die from natural causes. This number doesn't reflect all of the holistic doctors who have died since 2015, just the ones under peculiar circumstances, such as the one of Jeff Bradstreet, Dr. Jeff Bradstreet. On June 19, 2015, he was found in a river with a gunshot wound to his chest, which was labeled a suicide. Now, if someone was going to take their life in a suicide, would they shoot themselves in the chest? No, it never happens that way. Yes, that's exactly how it happens. There have been strange circumstances surrounding these deaths, such as the rarity of someone shooting themselves in the chest rather than in the head as a method of suicide. The very same day in Mexico, not Mexico, Missouri, 3 doctors went missing when their bodies were discovered, and their families said that the bodies were not those of their missing family members. And despite that fact, the government declared them dead. 2 days later in Florida, 2 chiropractors were found dead separately, and to this date, no cause of death has been reported. On June 29, 2015, 2 more holistic practitioners were found dead in separate states. One murdered, the other went missing, and when he was found, his death was ruled as suicide by gun. Yet even the local news was calling the entire investigation a mess and taking authorities to task for conflicting storylines and a lack of transparency in revealing results. 8 deaths within a 2-week time frame. 8 deaths within a 2-week time frame. What do you think? Coincidence? Could be, right? You don't want to assume the worst. It could be a coincidence. Why do I bring this stuff up? Because if you stand in opposition against what's mainstream, you will be labeled. Someone will point you out. If you stand against the agenda, your life is on the line. For those that understand a little bit more about the book of Revelation, they know that those who will be preaching against the mainstream religious authorities, they will face death first. That means me. My wife gets to cash in on the insurance policy before anybody else. July 21st, 2015, 2 doctors, Dr. Nick Gonzalez, who our office worked with extensively. We knew him personally. And Dr. Abdul Karim died both supposedly of heart attacks, although in Gonzalez's case, the autopsy did not show any heart attack symptoms. Dr. Gonzalez also said in several interviews, including the last one he did before he died, he thought Big Pharma wanted to get him hit by a bus that he might die suddenly. For those that don't know, I'm going to show a picture of him here. He was the one that worked with Suzanne Summers when she had breast cancer. Suzanne Summers is now in her 70s. You guys know who the actress is, Suzanne Summers, right? Three's Company, for those that don't know. He was on Larry King with Suzanne Summers. Suzanne Summers was on Larry King. She did everything naturally with her breast cancer, and they lambasted her. They tore her up. I remember this. So this Nick Gonzalez, he has died. We had patients that we sent to him. He's long gone. I've been told by drug companies that they know about my work, but I've been told drug companies know about my work, but hope I get hit by a bus. Nick Gonzalez literally dropped dead July 21st, 2015. His clinic and cancer patients like Suzanne Summers said he was perfectly healthy, and it came as a complete shock. We sent patients to this guy. Now the question is why? What's the link with all these physicians? Here's what was happening. Why did so many natural doctors die? Well, some of these doctors were studying the protein, if you want to call it GMAF. What is this? A suspiciously high amount of holistic doctors have recently turned up dead or missing within a very short time. One thing that these 8 doctors appear to all have had in common was their use of GMAF in treating these patients. This new treatment is reported to produce amazing results for a great many ills such as cancer, autism, bacterial and viral diseases, neurological diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, as well as inflammatory conditions such as arthritis. That was the link. That was the link. Continuing on. GMAF is a protein naturally created by the body to help the immune system ward off disease on a day-to-day basis. As it turns out, 2 of these most prominent of these doctors discovered that an enzyme called nagalase was produced by cancer cells was being added to vaccines by pharma industry. Nagalase suppresses GMAF, and these doctors believe that nagalase is being added. That's the link. Whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. I'm just presenting information that's from other news sources. Think on this just for a little bit. Those that want to think a little bit more alternatively. Never in the history of mankind has a group of people demanding compliance ever been the good guys. Is that true? You nod your head, Ethan. Right? Is that you like that quotation? Never in the history of mankind has a group of people demanding compliance ever been the good guys. I don't want my son reading this because I don't want him to see him and his mom agreeing on stuff, demanding compliance, and then him calling us bad guys. We're the good guys. This is something that was brought to my attention. Someone said this. Fear equals control. Fear equals control. Is this a true statement? The more fear I put into you, the more control I have over you. In just a few moments, I'm going to have Mr. Clyde Olson come to the front. There's something that I want him to share with all of you. Come on down. Is your wife in here too? No, she's not in here. We're going to get the second mic queued up. We're going to make you world famous, Clyde. You're locally famous, but now you're going to be world famous. We know that you like to work with wood. He does amazing things with wood, with metal, and all these things. Now, something happened to you a couple of years ago. We prayed for you a lot. For what reason?
I had cancer.
Okay. He had cancer, right, a few years ago. Did you want to tell us what kind of cancer it was?
It was lung cancer, and I had it, by the time they decided I had lung cancer, it was stage 3B, and he said it was about 2 to 2.5 inches in size. Immediately they wanted to operate. I said I didn't want to do that because they more or less guaranteed I'd be in oxygen the rest of my life.
Okay.
And so I went through therapy and all, and then they said I'd probably cough the rest of my life because the scar tissue in my lungs. So I felt like that was why I cough all the time.
So he was coughing after the surgery. By the way, for those that are watching, we didn't treat him for anything. He saw his oncologist. I had nothing to do with this. He went on his own and everything, okay? So They don't carry me away to jail. I'm not practicing anything.
But last time Pastor had these series,
Blame me. He's blaming me.
he mentioned about a dry cough, a clear mucus, and I just felt like that was my case. So I talked to him, and he got me on.
No. I didn't get you on anything.
Well, he suggested
I didn't get you on anything. I didn't get you on anything. I got him on nothing. He took a recommendation.
Suggested I use, what was it?
The buckwheat pill.
Yeah, the buckwheat pill. So I took that. He said take 3 times a day. So I did that. And that week, probably towards the end of the week, I started felt like my cough had slowed down a lot. And I pretty well in a couple of weeks didn't have the cough like I had before.
Okay. So you've been without the cough like you had before for several months now.
Yeah.
And now you've also are looking to take something to help out with the scar tissue. So we're looking forward to hearing good reports about that.
Yeah.
But now do you have your dry cough?
Well, I have a cough, but I don't know what it's from. But
probably seasonal stuff.
It's not the cough that I had before.
Okay. So amen to that.
Yeah.
Why don't we give him a round of applause? Thank you, Clyde. Yeah, we don't treat nothing here. No, he took it on his own, and it seems like he's doing much, much better. Thank you for that example. It's amazing what food-grade products can do for the body to help nourish your body. And so this is what he did. He took it on his own. And the unfortunate thing is, he had a honey-do list that his wife gives him every day. She grew the list because now he's capable of doing more, right? So it's bittersweet. You got healthier, but now you can do more for your wife. Way to go. Way to go. Just so you know, a lot of this information is borrowed from Diverse Health Services. This is where I used to work, from the great minds, the great physicians that are there. I'm going to start off, as far as this presentation, many times I put up patient cases to help us understand, help us know, and help us to navigate and see how some of these things can be treated naturally and alternatively. This is a 56-year-old male. This was December 2nd, 2008. He was diagnosed with liver failure. His liver enzymes are way out of range. His AST, liver enzyme 495, the range is 10 to 35. 10 to 35. 495 points. He is almost 460 points out of range. ALT 272, the range is 90 to 60. The patient tested positive for hepatitis A, B, and C. This was induced by Tylenol abuse and alcohol abuse. So this is a Tylenol and alcohol liver failure. It says here he has blood work done. He currently has no symptoms, and diagnosed him with liver failure. He served in the military and was getting help at the VA hospital. He's on 3 medications. Xanax, for those that don't know, I understand that there's a audience out there that may not know what this is, treats anxiety. Some of the side effects of Xanax are paranoia and suicidal thoughts. And so if you combine Xanax with alcohol, it can lead to slow breathing that could sometimes lead to death. That's what he was on, was Xanax, Lexapro. Lexapro treats depression and anxiety. Risperdal was his 3rd medication, treats schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Keep in mind he was in the military. And so when you're military, you go to the VA, Veterans Assistance Hospital. What they typically do is, since it's government insurance, they don't try to, not speaking for everybody, the tendency is to do the easy thing and just put people on medications, especially if they've been in the military. That's what we've seen. Is it that way every time and all the time? No. But this is what they do many times. Since you have the government insurance, they say, hey, we'll just give you this, we'll just give you this, we'll just give you this. You have a little bit of tendencies here, you have a little bipolar, here you go, here's this, here's this. Never mind nutrition, never mind seeing a counselor. This is what you need to take. His liver enzymes are out of range, his liver is dead. Eventually he came to see the physician I worked for, and he put him on 3 different products. Now, I'm not showing you guys this so that you guys can do this at home. That's not the purpose of this. This is some very skilled stuff that they need to see qualified professionals. I'm not saying you need to do this. I'm not saying you don't need to do this. 2 of the products here help the liver metabolism. The Cataplex G is used for something else. We put him on 3 products. And 4 months later, we'll see the results. Patient had blood work done on April 6th of 2009. His numbers are back in range. AST is 29 and ALT is 23. Physicians that know what they're doing are able to do this. And if you have the high quality products, you're able to do this. Yes, you'll have to pay out of pocket to get these kind of results. There are great physicians in all the fields. I just think many times doctors like to take the easy way out and not deal with the actual issue. There are excellent physicians out there. There's also some physicians that just want to make some cash. Medications interfering with liver function, antidepressants, antihistamines, and antacids. If you're on any one of these three, if you have a glass of wine and you're on any one of these three or all of these three, think about it. What's that going to do to your blood alcohol level? It's going to increase it. So you have a lot of people, even if they had a glass of wine, let's say at lunch, and they're driving during the day, and they get into an accident, their blood alcohol level is going to be increased because their liver is occupied trying to detox these three here. So what happens, the alcohol goes right to the blood and elevates your alcohol level. There's countless patients. There was a huge story back in my home state. During the day, a very famous lawyer, his blood sugar was 0.46 during the day. So how can that be? Because he was on these things, antidepressants, antihistamines, and antacids. So your liver gets occupied, and the alcohol gets dumped right in your bloodstream. That's how you're a drunk. When these things are occupying your liver, that's what happens. Is this making sense, yes or no? All right? Some recent news, some headlines here. Many of you know that I like to share some headlines. Naked scanners may increase cancer risk. How many of you have flown before? Okay. There is these scanners there at airports. What they typically do is they scan X-ray shots to make sure you're not carrying anything on board. U.S. scientists are warning that radiation from controversial full-body airport scanners has been dangerously underestimated and could lead to an increased risk of skin cancer, particularly in children. Excuse me. David Brenner, the head of Columbia University's Center for Radiological Research, says the concentration on the skin, one of the most radiation-sensitive organs in the body, means the radiation dose is actually 20 times higher than the official estimate. Dr. Brenner says that the most likely risk from the airport scanners is a type of skin cancer called basal cell carcinoma, which mainly occur on the head, neck, and is usually curable. Now, there's an alternative you can do when you go and board a flight. We have always done the alternative. We go through the metal detector and we say we want to pat down frisk. We want them to frisk us. We want them to pat us down. We're not going to keep going through the x-rays. It's a hassle for them. It actually, God bless them, it makes them have to work more, but I'm not going to keep going through x-ray scanners. I'm not going to do it. Just so you know, you can ask for this. We ask for the pat down. There's times where they bring me into a closet and I have to say, it's a strip search. It's to my undergarments. It's happened to me before. It happens to my wife where they check her areas where, weapons could be, right? I don't know how else to say it. Right? Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. This is an alternative, just so you guys know. If you don't want to go through the x-ray scanners, we don't. We don't. Prozac making shrimp reckless. This is from National Geographic. There's no happy ending for shrimp exposed to the mood booster Prozac, according to a new study. Remnants of antidepressant drugs flushed into waterways worldwide are altering shrimp behavior and making them easier prey, experts say. To mimic conditions in the wild, scientists exposed the estuary-dwelling shrimp to the antidepressant fluoxetine at levels detected in average sewage treatment waste. Fluoxetine is a key ingredient for the drugs Prozac and Serafem. Now notice this, it makes the shrimp, their behavior, easy prey. Easy prey. If you're dependent upon this, it makes us easy prey. According to the shrimp, biology is teaching us something. Biology is teaching us something here. This is recent news headlines. The one on the right is from 2009. The one on the left is from November 2021. I'm going to read the current one. It says, Pfizer CEO says people who spread misinformation on COVID vaccines are criminals because they have literally cost millions of lives. Okay, that's from November 9th, 2021. Never mind that NBC also had the same article, not the same article, had an article about Pfizer. This is from September 2nd, 2009. Pfizer to pay record $2.3 billion penalty. Federal prosecutors hit Pfizer with a record-breaking $2.3 million in fines, making it the largest criminal fine in U.S. history, and called the drug giant a repeating corporate cheat for illegal drug promotions that plied doctors with massages and resort junkets. You can look that up. Something is going on here. Again, with drugs, there's many needful things out there. There's things that people need to do. However, look at the news headlines. By the way, really quick, the AV guys, I'm going to show another video. Are you guys able to cue the sound through the other video? No? Okay. Then I'm going to do something different. FDA wants until 2076 to fully release Pfizer vaccine data. The FDA has asked a federal judge to make the public wait until the year 2076 to disclose all of the data and information it relied upon to license Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. Don't come to me and blame me for what's happening in the news. I'm just reciting the news. It's not my fault. So for those that are here present, maybe there's those that want to stop coming to church because of what I said. I'm just reading headlines here. I didn't say it. They said it. Is that making sense? Am I in trouble yet? I'm going to see if this will work here. Can you guys see what's being run here? Look at all these news headlines. Sponsored by Pfizer. Making a difference. Sponsored by Pfizer. CNN Tonight. Sponsored by Pfizer. Early Start. Sponsored by Pfizer. Aaron Burnett out front. Sponsored by Pfizer. ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Sponsored by Pfizer. Good Morning America. Sponsored by Pfizer. CBS Sports, sponsored by Pfizer. Is there more? There's plenty more. CBS This Morning, sponsored by Pfizer. 60 Minutes Overtime, sponsored by, you guessed it, Pfizer. No wonder the media only has good things to say about Pfizer. How can you question anything when your very sponsor that's paying your bills? Does anybody see a conflict here? Right? It's still on YouTube. How can you say anything against the company when your paycheck comes from that company? Just how dangerous is acetaminophen? In essence, Tylenol, used to relieve mild, moderate pain from headaches, muscle aches, menstrual period, etc. Take these things periodically on and off. How many people do you know that have chronic aches and pains that are always on Tylenol? Right? They're always on this stuff. You cannot, this is not Skittles. You can't just pop these things in your mouth every time you have a pain. What will eventually happen with these little bleeders, your Advil, sometimes your ibuprofen, it'll burn a hole in your stomach. You'll get ulcers. This is what happens. Some of the ladies that take some of these medications for their menstrual cycle, periodic use, overuse, these people that like to pop these painkillers in their mouth for whatever reason, eventually you'll develop an ulcer. Each year, acetaminophen poisoning results in 100,000 calls to poison control centers, 56,000 emergency room visits, 26,000 hospitalizations, and more than 450 deaths from liver failure. There is your journal citation. PPA. All drugs containing PPA are dangerous and have been linked to increased hemorrhagic stroke. Alka-Seltzer, you guys don't raise your hand. Dexatrim, Dimetapp. How many of you guys have heard of Dimetapp? Some of these cough syrups. Travis D., Robitussin. Triaminic is voluntarily recalling their children's medicines due to the PPA contact that is causing strokes and seizures in children. I didn't say that. They did. There are some needful things out there, some emergency things that we can take. This is not a lifestyle. This is not a lifestyle. Children with special needs, autism, speech, delayed learning disabilities. This is what we used to help support the body for when you have these difficulties with the kids. Cytozyme B, that's something to nourish the brain. Then you have your essential fatty acids. Children with special needs, autism, speech, delayed learning. When Donna was pregnant with my son, we put her on a high-fat diet. I know it's controversial. We put her on a high-fat diet. Remember, fat, brain is fat. Brain is fat, high-fat diet. My wife was a high-fat diet. And people always commented how well she was pregnant. They said, you look so healthy. Her face was flush. She had excellent energy all throughout her pregnancy. Maybe it's because I did everything for her. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't. I'm joking. She's not here to defend herself. She's not here to defend herself. What are some other headlines? What are some other things we need to know while shopping? For those that like to go shopping, here's a list of the dirty dozen. Some of the fruits and vegetables containing the most pesticides. Celery, apples, bell peppers, cherries, peaches, blueberries, spinach, potatoes, strawberries, nectarines, kale, and grapes. Now, with all the pesticides and all this fruit, what are some of the symptoms you could be feeling? You could be very nauseous. A lot of the stuff with all these pesticides, you can get pancreatitis, and it feels nauseous all the time. It's nauseous. Sometimes there's dry heaves, throwing up. We used to have patients that would come in. They were on this juice fast, and one guy said it this way. He goes, I feel like someone is poisoning me. And we asked him, what is your diet? He said, I've been having fruit smoothies this last week, trying to help him out with his ailments. Well, his fruit was covered in pesticides. And so it was, nobody else figured this out. We said, look, you have pancreatitis. We told him to eat rice and steak, real meat. Did that offend anybody? Rice and steak. We told him to eat rice and steak. His symptoms stopped after that. We put him on a product called Arginex to help with that also. Analysis by the Environmental Working Group estimated that consumers could reduce their exposures to pesticides by almost 90% merely by avoiding foods on the Dirty Dozen list. That's why I'm grateful for the people that are here who have come to the gardening class, for those that are leading out. I get to try and grow my own stuff. That way I know what I put in it. I know what's sprayed, what it's not sprayed. So what are the cleanest foods? The cleanest dozen, the least amount of pesticides. Usually those that have a skin. You have your onions, your pineapple, eggplant, asparagus, avocado, mango, cantaloupe, kiwi, sweet corn, sweet peas, watermelon, and cabbage. The EPA considers 60% of herbicides, 90% of fungicides, and 30% of insecticides to be carcinogenic. These are some of the cleanest ones. All right, navigating through winter. How many of us, when the days get shorter and shorter, kind of feel uneasy about it, right? We're like, oh no, the days are getting shorter and shorter. It's getting cooler and cooler. Sunset's getting sooner and sooner. We just kind of have this drab feeling. No, not you, Valerie. You're always smiling, though. Yeah, it's like, you're good-natured, right? For me, I like the sun. I enjoy the sun. I'm dark-complected. I'm olive-skinned. My heritage is Middle Eastern heritage. I need to be out in the sun a lot, especially for my moods. The very good thing is, when I was talking to other people just preparing for this lecture, I said, what do you think about this winter so far? You know, this winter, although it has been relatively cold, we've had more sun than I expected. It hasn't been, sometimes we go a whole week or even 10 days, right, with no sun. How many of you guys have noticed that? There's been sun just about, right, often enough. My house, all the windows face south, so the sun pours in, and I enjoy it tremendously. It elevates our moods. I'm going to show you a way you can save thousands of dollars every year. In fact, this is the way. Supplement intelligently with vitamin D. Either Cataplex D, Bio-D Motion Forte, or D-Complex by Food Research. Clinical research has shown high-dose emulsified vitamin D to be excellent adjunctive therapy with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is PCOS, MS, multiple sclerosis, breast, prostate, skin, and colon cancer, obesity, osteoporosis, inflammation, increased C-reactive protein, and insulinism, which means that vitamin D helps with those that have insulin issues. You guys understand that the sun is good for you? You can save money by not taking all those trips or having that, house in Florida. You take vitamin D. You're nourishing your body, a high-quality vitamin D product. This is what we do. We can't always go south or take a week off, going somewhere, but we can afford something like this on a regular basis. Sunlight and darker-skinned races. The darker the skin, the higher the blood pressure, even when stress and other factors were taken into consideration. In this book's chapter on skin cancer, it is noted that sunlight apparently has an inhibiting effect on deep-seated cancer. Again, we would expect to find more cancer among darker-skinned people living in the U.S. In consulting the vital statistics, we found this to be true. 20% more dark-skinned people die of cancer than do their lighter-skinned contemporaries. For darker-skinned people, they have to be out in the sun longer to absorb the same amount as a fair-skinned person. Does that make sense to you? If you're fair-skinned, you don't have to be out in the sunlight too long to get that red, to get that burn, whatever it may be, because you're fair-skinned. But someone like me, to get the same amount of sunlight as a fair-skinned person, I have to be out in the sun longer. Is that making sense? Sunlight seems to play an important role in preventing and curing infections, even those as severe as tuberculosis. Again, we see a much higher rate of infections in darker-skinned people. Their incidence of death from influenza and pneumonia is almost double that of lighter-skinned people, and nearly 5 times as great in case of tuberculosis. Sunlight will lower elevated blood sugar levels. There are twice as many deaths from diabetes among dark-skinned people. Obviously, in the northern climates in the wintertime, we get a lot less sun. When there's a lot less sun, blood pressure will increase. When there's more sun, blood pressure will decrease. How many of you guys have been on vacation in a warm climate when it's been cold up here? Are you more relaxed or less relaxed when you go to those warmer climates? More relaxed. You spend time on the beach, you spend time in the sun, you are more relaxed. That's how it is. The sun is therapeutic. Here are some effects of sunlight. Ultraviolet light improves electrocardiogram. Ultraviolet light decreases blood pressure, decreases resting heart rate, increases cardiac output, decreases blood cholesterol, increases glycogen stores in the liver, decreases blood sugar. Effects of sunlight continues. Ultraviolet light increases energy, endurance, and muscular strength. Do you notice that you have more energy when the sun's out, when your time in the sun? Does that make sense? Right? Versus in the wintertime, when it's not so much. Our next lecture is also going to be navigating through winter as well. We're going to be talking about thyroid issues, sluggishness, those types of things. Effects of sunlight increases body's resistance to infections, increases oxygen carrying capacity of blood, increases adrenaline in tissues and tolerance to stress, increases sex hormones, increases resistance of skin infections. Effects of sunlight, visual light striking the eye, the control of melatonin production. Melatonin is important for sleep. Those that work night shifts, when they sleep during the day, they need to supplement with melatonin. A lot of times in the evening, when we spend time in front of our screens, when we spend time on the phones, I know I do too as well, it affects our melatonin production. That's why many times it takes us a long time to fall asleep. If you want something to help you out in the evening, when you've spent time in front of the screen, take a good quality melatonin pill. I think it's typically 3 milligrams. Take a high quality melatonin pill. What do you think? Colon cancer and latitude. There's a correlation. The further north someone lives, the greater their likelihood for colon cancer because they're exposed to less sun. Does that make sense? The closer you live to the equator, the better or the healthier you will be. According to here, someone in Northern Ireland, latitude at 54 degrees, death rate is 16.4 per 100,000. But when you get to a warm climate, let's say Guatemala, latitude 15, that is closer to the equator, you get a 0.5 death rate per 100,000 population for colon cancer. In other words, vitamin D helps with colon cancer. And guess what? It helps with breast cancer. Breast cancer and latitude, same thing. Northern Ireland, at latitude 54, you get 26.9 death rate per 100,000. If you go to, again, Guatemala, latitude 15, you get 2.3 breast cancer death rate per 100,000. Is this making sense? Sun good for you or not? It's absolutely essential for you. You guys know what this is? Have you guys seen something like this before? This is what's typically referred to as rickets disease. Rickets. Rickets disease, this young girl on the left, she was diagnosed with rickets disease. But after 18 months of heliotherapy, that's sun therapy, she was back to normal. This is just 18 months of sun therapy. For those that know the history of the Battle Creek Sanitarium, they used to sunbathe on the roof. I think it was even nude. The guys one day, the ladies another day. And so they used to use the sun, have them sunbathe on the roof to treat a lot of their ailments. The sun is absolutely vital to bone structure. The sun is absolutely vital. Many doctors say, stay out of the sun, stay out of the sun. We say no. It's part of the New START acronym. What are many times labeled as diseases are actually deficiencies. A lot of diseases that are labeled are actually deficiencies. Oh, you have this disease. Well, chances are it's a deficiency. In the husbandry industry, the very things that we would call diseases, they call deficiencies. They call deficiencies. Here's something that I'm going to share that needs to be shared. This is something that was brought to my attention. This is from the Archives of Internal Medicine. Some researchers are now suggesting the earlier studies, I needed to go here first. U.S. researchers attempting to quantify the number of lives that have been saved by influenza vaccines. And they have come up with a disappointing number, something close to 0. Early predictions were that flu vaccines would save half of those vaccinated. However, based on U.S. mortality rates from 1968 to 2001, the study by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases found no correlation between increasing vaccination rates after 1980 and declining death rates in any group. Now, if you choose to do this, this is fine. There's literature that is suggesting that we can do something different. This is from Reuters World Report, February 2005, and then ultimately quoting the journal, the Archives of Internal Medicine, 2005. Archives of Internal Medicine, 2005. Some researchers are now suggesting the earlier studies were flawed, and also that the elderly may not be getting much benefit because many failed to produce antibodies in response to the vaccination. Natural immunity development may be responsible for the earlier perceived benefits of inoculations. I didn't say that. Don't get me in trouble. I didn't say that. Why flu drugs don't work. By the way, I usually tell people this: hold me accountable. Ask questions about the things that I'm presenting here. I don't mind the tough questions. I never mind the tough questions. In Bible study or whatever it may be, I don't mind the tough questions. I may not be able to answer every question, but answer or ask the tough questions. Over the past 40 years, the drug industry has produced 4 major antiviral drugs to combat flu. Amantadine in 1996, rimantadine in 93, zanamivir in 1999, and oseltamivir, marketed as Tamiflu, also in 1999. And resistance to all 4 is regularly reported. That's according to The Lancet. I didn't say that in 2000. Tamiflu is consistently promoted as the main weapon against the H5N1 virus. The U.S. government has placed an order for 20 million doses at a cost of $2 billion, while the U.K. government is ordering 14.6 million doses, even though America's advisors at the CDC in Atlanta have gone on record as stating that there is no vaccine to protect people against the H5N1 virus. I didn't say this. That's from this journal and also the CDC. They also talked about mercury content in the flu shot. Statistics show that if you have had 5 consecutive flu shots between 1970 and 1980, you have 10 times the odds of getting Alzheimer's as a person who had 2 flu shots or less. This is from Hugh Freudenberg, an MD. He's the world-leading immunologist. He's written 850 papers published in peer-reviewed journals. Again, I didn't say this. You can take this and run, or you can take this and fight. It's your choice. Amazing results. Now, how do you boost your immune system? I've talked to a lot of people who have been sick this last round. Right now, it's towards the end of January. There's quite a few of you who have been ill for quite some time. This was us. This was us. The one time we get sick, we were all out of everything. And so we just ordered a whole bunch of supplements to help nourish our bodies so that we can battle what needs to come up. But every person has said this. For some reason, this season, they said, things have been lingering longer than expected. Has that been right? I know many of you, same thing. Things have lingered longer than normal. The woman that cut my hair today, she said the same thing. The clients that were there, they all said the same thing. There's something going on that's making us sick longer for some reason. Say again? Okay. Okay. So there's... Yes. And so I think along those lines, where I think it's unique. Plus, with the different strains of COVID that are out there, it affects our health in a very unique way. I've never had sinus drainage for a whole month. For some reason, this last month, I have had sinus drainage. That's been my only symptom. Last week, I was a little bit down. Amazing results with andrographis. What is andrographis? It's an herb used to treat tuberculosis. In 321 cases, 280 of them, it was effective in 280 cases. Skin infections, of the 359 cases that were put on andrographis, 347 of them saw relief. Hepatitis, 83% saw relief. Respiratory tract infection, a lot of that stuff is going around. Andrographis, 2,700 cases. Number of cases that was effective with, 2,400. That's a percentage of almost 90%. 90% effective, andrographis. Uses of echinacea. Again, quality makes all the difference. You can't go to these stores that end in, let's say, the word mart and expect to have high-quality products that'll work well for your body. You got to get high-quality stuff. There's people I know that are willing to provide you high-quality stuff. I'm hoping to get permission from one for next week's presentation. The uses of echinacea. Fevers, gangrene, gonorrhea, leg ulcers, meningitis, psoriasis, a lot of the stuff. High-quality echinacea. There's one brand that we use at home. It's the MediHerb brand. They're from Australia. They use high-quality stuff, effective stuff, very potent stuff, not cheap stuff, high-quality stuff for immune support stuff. Andrographis, astragalus, which is also immune, and Echinacea premium. Again, we're trying to navigate through winter here. We got a couple more months of this. We also stocked up on these standard processed products. Thymex for bacterial infection, Alloplex for lung issues, for those that have lung issues, Immuplex, overall natural immune support, especially those that are dealing with viral infections. These will help support your immune system. Thymex, Alloplex, and Immuplex. For more support, we have Congoplex and Cataplex C. Cataplex C is the whole food vitamin C. It operates similar to that of Ceruta Plus. Congoplex is for a bacterial, to help support the body for bacterial infections. Again, we stocked up recently with a whole bunch of this stuff. We had to pay out of pocket for the things that you want to support your body. You're going to have to pay out of pocket. Your insurance is not going to cover food-grade products. Bottom line, unless you have a health savings plan or a flex plan, which I just signed up for this year. So I want to encourage you into good health. If you have any questions or comments, see me afterwards. What we're going to do is we're going to invite you back next week for another episode or another presentation of health and healing. We're going to be navigating through winter. For those that are present, glad you can join us. For those that are viewing online, glad you can join us again. I'm Luau Fala, and we'll see you next week. God bless.